Going on, guys? Naeem Alabaidi here. I hope you're all enjoying your day today. I'm super excited to talk about Bitcoin breaking out, possibly heading towards the 4,000 level, and a new target is going to be set here during this video. What's interesting is Bitcoin did exactly what we talked about in our last video 2 days ago about falling into the end of this wedge that was forming and finally breaking out of that wedge. It's exactly what we predicted in our last video. We actually dropped right down to that 3,400 level, and I know in that video I predicted that it was around 3,350 to 3,400. And that was exactly where we found that bottom, and this is once again a higher low, because this is the second higher low that was formed. This was the first low that was formed. And so this is also a very positive thing here. Let's go ahead and draw this out. We've got this new ascending support level forming. Now, obviously, we've only tapped this level twice, and so we're obviously going to want to test it a little bit more and not solidify that as a support. But it's very positive in the regards of us hoping for a positive bull market in 2019, because this could be very similar to what happened in 2008 during the recession. If you guys remember us talking about the 2008 recession, we talked about how, after 2008, it took about a year and a half for us to finally find the bottom, in which we then started to rise back up, and then eventually after 10 years, we've seen highs far beyond where that 2008 high was. So that compares to Bitcoin and the fact that we saw Bitcoin go to 20,000. But is it going to go past $20,000 anytime in the future? And my opinion is yes. As we build more intrinsic value, this being a limited asset class, the fundamentals are still there. If you were watching our last video as well, transactions are at all-time highs right now. As you start seeing like BitTorrent, for example, add the ability for you to now gain BTT tokens for seeding their downloads, people are going to want to use those BTT tokens and transfer them into Bitcoin and other coins, and then eventually fiat, right? So it's encouraging the use of Bitcoin, and once the intrinsic value can really be put at a constant and normal level with the market, is when we'll start to see that positive price movement over the long term. And it's really what we want to see in an asset class that we have hope in, right? We don't want to see parabolic levels that we can't justify. And so I think these levels are very justifiable for Bitcoin and where it's at right now. The other cool thing is the fact that, us being at 3,500, that's still pretty high from where Bitcoin was several years ago. So, a lot of things are looking positive here. And what I want you guys to realize is what we're watching right now. So we can go ahead and delete this resistance from that falling wedge that we were watching initially. Now there are some very, very important resistant levels to start watching here. Really, the level in which you want to pay attention to is right around that 3,800. Not only did we find resistance along this descending resistance level once or twice or three times, but this has been a constant level of resistance since November of 2018. So almost a year that this level has fought against Bitcoin, and for us to break past this would be a very, very bullish sign for Bitcoin in the medium to long term, which spans about 3 to 12 months. And that's a very positive thing. And so other than that, I want you to pay attention to this bold red line here. It's a little bit more bold than the other moving averages above it, because this actually shows the 50-day moving average, and it's also where we're finding resistance. So for us to break past 3,800, not only are we going to be breaking past this long-forming descending resistance level that was here since November of 2018, but we're also going to be able to go above that 50-day moving average. That's a huge deal. The other thing is, and this is an indicator of momentum, and that's that light blue line here in the back, which is the exponential moving average, the EMA. We've finally went above the EMA, and it's been since January of 2019 that we've been, above that, and now below that, and now we're finally above that. So that's very, very positive for momentum. And as you can see with volume, we haven't seen volume this significant since December of 2018. So it's been quite a while that we've seen this type of volume. So very, very positive thing. The last time we saw volume like this, it ended up in a pretty significant run-up. If we were to calculate this, we went up about 36%. So if this volume can give us the same amount of momentum, and let's say we see 36, let's say 30% to be conservative, that's just enough to break us out of this descending resistance level. And you can see here right now, it's only really going to take about 15% run up from that bottom that was formed for us to see higher highs and some clear sunlight finally, right? I feel like a weatherman covering this too, and I'd like to imply that reference as well. So what's really cool about this chart that I want you guys to also pay attention to is if we look at Litecoin, for example, on the USD valuation, we can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of, where Bitcoin is going to be headed based upon using Litecoin as a reference. And what's different about what's happening with Litecoin is we saw far more significant volume here in comparison to Bitcoin. Matter of fact, we haven't seen volume this high in a very, very long time, over a year. And so that's a very big deal for Litecoin. We've been above that 50-day moving average. We're now heading towards that 200-day moving average. And you can see we're also now above that EMA. So one thing I would watch in order to just get a full-on picture of what's going to happen in this market is watch where Litecoin finds its resistance. Let's see if we can finally break past that $45 level in order for us to even assume any sort of higher price levels. But the other cool thing I like about this is we've tapped this ascending resistance level 3 times already, and we've already got this ascending support level forming, putting us in a positive channel. And so that's a very good thing for Litecoin, and could also make us assume that Bitcoin may follow that path as it starts to rise up. So moving back onto Bitcoin, what's super interesting here is if we pull up these other 2 indicators, there's some very, very clear patterns forming here. So one pattern I want you to watch is understanding the RSI, which is the relative strength index. It's an indicator that shows you whether an asset class is overbought or oversold, right? Now, one thing that people don't usually know is when we start to head towards that 60 to 70 level in RSI, that's actually a bullish level for us to be in. Now, we've found resistance at this level multiple times already. We have not yet broken that resistance. So we've already seen 2 strong resistance levels hold for Bitcoin. And so it's almost like we're reaching this ultimatum in order for us to assume that we're most likely going to soon break out of this bear market if we're able to break through these resistance levels. So would you be going long with Bitcoin right now? I say that the upside potential versus downside potential is not there until we break past these resistance levels. We also have these support levels forming here too. And it's the same thing, the same way that 60 to 70 is bullish, anything between 30 and 40 is considered bearish. And so you can see we've pretty much found some support along those levels as well. So we're really just bouncing back and forth within this neutral ground. And what's also cool is if we pull up the MACD, you can start to see some significant buyers coming in, something we haven't yet seen with these histograms in the past since we saw this initial reversal. And so is this going to be able to pull this fast length MACD here all the way towards this buy side? Well, it's very likely. Why? Because you can also see we've got this MACD crossover forming here. Also a very positive thing for Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, we're just still fighting around these levels. It's something we've been through already. You can see here, very similar to what we're seeing here. So MACD is probably not the best indicator right now to look at, other than the type of price action that we're seeing. So one thing I want you guys to actually leave in the comments below is, what is your thoughts on Bitcoin? Has 3,000 been the final bottom? Are we going to start to see some clear skies, or are we going to go and drop down to the $2,000 and $1,000 level? For me personally, what I would say is I'm liking what I'm seeing here. I'm liking this increase in volume. I'm liking the fact that we are forming these really consistent patterns down here. Why? Because that's a point of possible consolidation, right? The reason that, I saw a message on our Discord group recently of one of our users saying that they like Forex markets because it's a lot more stable and consistent than crypto. And the reason it's like that is because it's a $1 trillion market. So I only have 10 minutes for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like the video if you guys enjoyed this. Love all of you, and expect a live stream really soon Make sure to leave your thoughts about Bitcoin in the comments below. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching.